starting ceremony. If we could go onto the red carpet of the ribbon. Yes, yes, yes. We can go there. Everybody else, if we could remain where we are now, just come and cluster there, and then we allow for the photo. And then I'll be calling additional people as after the ribbon cut. We'll take pictures. Joining us here. Well, the MEC is not here. MEC not here. Liba, our Liba, Kim, where are you guys? Can you join us? All right, you gonna hand over to Jawu or to the GC? Yes. Come, Dean. Can we have those keys and do the keys hand over? Where's the key? Where's the key? Let's start the crane. Where's the key? We should stand, sorry. So we should stand, the lead bearer should stand, hand it over to Transit's logo on that side. So we'll come on this side. Wow, my friend. She gave me the money.
I'm ready to start it now.
Are you preparing to show us something? I'm going to give you the mic. Are you straight? Take the mic from me and talk us through the demonstration.
My name is Dean Woodley. I'm the General Manager for all capital investment in Transnet Port Terminals. And I'm not going to relay any announcements made by our previous speakers. But what's important here, you see the proud ownership of our new ship-to-shore cranes. There's a lot of engineering and a lot of technology that went into these cranes. Remember, the cranes on the front of us, if you're looking, I'm facing that way, is our old cranes, 21 years old. And from those technologies and the engineering that went into our new cranes, huge and vast difference in terms of enabling productivity. I'm just going to list a few things. So what's important is the new cranes that you'll see in front of you all are firstly remote capable. So that's something that we are striving for as Transnet to make it more easier and more operable from a remote point of view so that we safeguard firstly our people, our operators, and also what we do is if you look at where we're standing now, you can see and you can feel the wind, okay? So these cranes are capable of handling higher wind speeds. We know what is changing environment and the climate that's going on. So these cranes can handle containers easy from a capability of in excess of 90 kilometers per hour, normal operations. Remember, our terminal previously was constrained to a point of about 72 kilometers per hour wind speed, where we say we're windbound. We are introducing technology that enables the terminal to operate at much higher wind speeds. So that's the first thing. The second thing that you'll see in front of you is the technology that we have fitted on these cranes in terms of the maintenance engineering side. So all the new technologies we fitted here requires least capability, least effort in terms of maintenance. It's got standard on it condition monitoring systems. So it's got communication to our technical engineering teams together with operations in terms of what's happening with the crane, how's it performing, what messages it's telling the operators in terms of to look out for. So all those capabilities are in these new cranes. So we're actually always being proactive in terms of what we are gauging in ahead of us. Also another important thing here is the drive system. Now I'm putting my engineering cap on. So the drives is the hardware of the crane capability that ensures that the crane can perform at its ultimate in terms of whatever conditions you have in your environment around you. The drives that's fitted on these cranes is the same drives as what we launched on the RTGs in Pier 1. So what are we doing? We're standardizing. When you standardize, you limit your deviations from skills capability, your material stock holding, your enhancements of knowledge in terms of how you handle these drive systems. So it's quicker, it's easier. We train our people once, we make them experts, we make them masters in the drive systems. So you handle these cranes, you can handle also the RTGs. So what are you doing? You are spreading that knowledge as a common base amongst all the people. So you're enhancing operations and you are limiting downtime. So those are the key things that we enabled by procuring these cranes and standardizing. Standardizing is the ultimate for us to move our company forward. Also, what's important in these cranes, you'll see, is the boom. Now, what's important about the boom? The shipping, our customers, our industry. What's important about the boom length, the stretch in terms of the boom out, is the type of vessels we can handle. We can handle all the large vessels now. The reach of these booms are 24 containers across. Our limitation previously in Pier 2 was an average around 18, 19 containers across. Now we can stretch as furthest as 24 containers across. So those are the major and critical operation enhancements we did. Also, what's important, if you see the legs on these, where these gantry motors are. We did something that's really ingenuity. The rail gauge, the distance between that rail, this is the rail here, right? This is where your machine gantry is on, the rail. To that point there on the further side, there's a distance between it. Now, with Pier 2's inherent design, the distance between these two rails are 28 meters. So you can't take a standard crane and put it onto this quayside. It's made specifically for this quayside. So the disadvantage we had previously is that you couldn't take a crane from South Quay and try and move it to Nuga or to Cape Town because of the rail gauge constraints. But what we did as engineering and as the design guys, we designed the legs that when you turn, you can actually, on the flange, on the top there, where it's connected to your main body structure, when you turn those legs around, you reach 40.46, your standard rail gauge globally. So you can use these cranes and adapt it to any terminal across South Africa. So that's the changes that we did from a design point of view. So colleagues, from a stability point of view, and for our shipping line colleagues as well, we are waiting to see how best we handle your vessels, and we're gonna move those boxes in and out of the vessels as efficient as possible. So, Honorable Minister, your 30 is not far off from reaching very quickly, so we will achieve it. Okay, colleagues, let's do some moves. So I'm gonna ask, what we're gonna test on this crane is we're gonna hoist, and because of the safety issues, we don't want to gantry. Now gantry, there's 3 critical motions that we do, right? When we operate cranes. Gantrying. Gantrying is when the crane changes its position on the rail, from left to right, on the quayside. So gantrying will move front, left and right. The next motion is hoisting, when the spreader, which is latched onto the container, is hoisted up and it lifts the box up. We're going to do some hoisting, and then we're going to do some trolling. Trolling, if you see on the top, there's your cabin. The operator is sitting in that cabin there. So when he trolleys, he will trolley along the boom, front and back, to operate a vessel. So we're going to do some trolling, and then you'll see that motion. So guys, going forward in future, which we're currently busy with pilots, we will not have operators in that cabin. Our future looks where we want to safeguard our operators and operate at much higher wind speeds. We'll have them sitting in normal cabin offices where you have a control room and operate that entire machinery from that control room. That's future orientated that we are looking for, and we're having a study. So colleagues, we're going to do some motions. I don't know if the operator can see my signs. We want to do maybe some hoisting. Let's hoist the box in the air. Anyone got a CB? A walkie-talkie? Radio. Oh, there's it. Here we are. So here we're hoisting. So remember, when an operator hoists, he hoists clear of your sill beams. Your sill beams are those beams on the left and right of the crane. So he clears the vessel limits to go to the vessel. And now while he hoists, then he's going to move forward onto the water side. So colleagues, why is he doing this? Something, and our GC mentioned we sit on the water side and we look at the motion of the cranes, the operations. What's important with a ship-to-shore crane is the way you actually latch onto a box and you hoist it and you move it to the vessel. It's called a parabolic move. So in future, these cranes are equipped in terms of sensory and camera devices that as mere in terms of automating the moves of the parabolic move, with a touch of a button, it actually does that move automatically for you. So now with the new technology, we assist our operators to achieve exactly those pattern of moves to enhance productivity. So it's not left only to an operator, but the machine aids the operator on how to do those moves. So that is another advantage of the new cranes that we have. So there's he going to the water side. And obviously, once he's there, he will reach the vessel in terms of the cell guide or the bay number that he needs to actually lower the box onto the vessel. But obviously, we don't have a vessel here today, so we'll just imagine there's a vessel there. All right. So he can come back. So he will lower into the vessel. But colleagues, this is very slow. But when we really do operations, it's quite fast. We measured an operator from the time he latches on a box on a vessel to the point he moves it onto the land side. It can be done in around 1.35 minutes. 1 minute, 35 seconds. So here's he coming back. So colleagues, just some information as well. This is the first crane. By next week, this crane will be finished commissioning. It'll be handed over to operations for the endurance testing. And then the next sister crane next to it also is currently started with commissioning. We'll also hand that in about a week and a half's time. And then once we have 2 operational cranes on this berth, we will then deal with the 2 older cranes to actually then move our 2 new cranes onto the quay side, and then we'll start commissioning that. By end of November, our target is by end of November, all 4 cranes will be operational and busy with endurance. So that's our target, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the questions. So I think the importance of the 2 cranes that you can see here is these are the first of 4 new ship-to-shore cranes that are being commissioned by Transnet for Pier 2 in Durban. The other 2 are over there. They are in the construction phase, and we are expecting that all 4 will be operational by the end of November. And as you correctly say, this is in order to deal with the most intensive retail import period ahead of the festive season. But of course, on the other side of that intensive retail period, we will begin the fruit season. And so these cranes are very important because they can load and unload container vessels at speed. They're also very important because they can operate in conditions of high wind. And you would understand that when you are operating here in eThekwini, there are days like today when the wind speed can really get up. This particular crane can operate in wind speeds of up to 90 kilometers an hour. Our previous cranes could only go to about 60 or 70 kilometers an hour. And you would understand that if you have downtime in a busy port like this, then you have a crisis because you have to catch up. Now, yesterday, we were opening that stretch of the N3 that is between Ashburton and Cato Ridge. And what we now have there is a 4-lane highway in either direction with high mast lighting so that it's completely illuminated at night. There's also a 5th lane on the hills for the trucks. And what we understand is that Cato Ridge area is becoming a inland port, a staging place. What is happening is that vehicles would be moving from the port here, they would be going to Cato Ridge, they would then be dispersing cargo from that particular point. So I think what we have to understand is that what we're seeing here at Transnet today is part of an integrated transport system that we are upgrading in the whole of this province. Because what we understand is that the KwaZulu-Natal freight corridor, and by the freight corridor we mean both the rail freight and the road freight corridor, carries 60 to 65% of the traffic in our country. So these upgrades are enormously important because we have to promote efficiency and effectiveness and speed by which we are loading and unloading ships, also moving the particular goods away from the port area into the inland areas where they are expected. What we also saw yesterday is at Lion Park there is a staging area for trucks. So what now happens is when trucks are coming from Gauteng, they stay there and then they would in due course be waiting for a message that their ship has come in, and then they could then move down here to the port once the vessel is ready for them. I'm going to hand over. Let me just say that, of course, one of the key issues that we are also interested in is the upgrade of the rail system. And you would know that at this point in time, government doesn't have all of the finances we need in order to be able to invest in the rail corridor that runs from Gauteng to eThekwini. In April next year, we will be putting out a call for proposals to invest in the upgrade of that rail corridor. That is terribly important for us because what we understand is that our rail network as a whole has not had significant new investment since the 1970s. And what we are understanding is that globally there's really a revitalization of rail as a means of transport, both because rail has less carbon emissions, and you know that South Africa is a signatory to the Paris Agreement, but also because across the world highways are becoming extremely congested, and so road transportation is no longer regarded as efficient in the way that it was regarded a few decades back. Of course, there's always a role for trucking, first, last mile, and what I call intermediate mile. So you understand that not every that is coming from this port is destined for Gauteng. It might be going elsewhere in Cape, and it might be going to the Eastern Cape. So you would understand that trucking will always have a role. But I think what we do want to do is to ease congestion and make roads safer by ensuring that we go back to where Transnet was 2017, 2018, when we were at that time moving 220 million tons a year. At the moment, we're averaging about 170 million, so we're getting back to the magic number of 250 million tons we want to achieve by 2029.
Maybe to respond to the matter about the scanning facilities, I think you may be aware that the scanning facilities, as part of, we operate in an ecosystem, an integrated ecosystem, and under the control of customs. So when you go through the gates at Pier 2, you'll see at the end there that there are scanning facilities. They decide based on, their own calculations which containers need to be searched, because correctly so, there is only one scanner at the moment. We continue to work with the authorities to ensure that, where there is wrongdoing, toward where we do get information from the public about shipments that may be coming in, we work together as a team to ensure that we are able to get to those containers and conduct investigations and arrests and organized criminal syndicates working and unfortunately bringing the wrong products into the country.
All right, second set. Any other hands? Show of hands. East Coast. Nothing. Gakasi. Covered everything. Is there everywhere?
Happy to have you here.
So today what we are doing is that we are launching the first two of the 4 ship-to-ship trains that Transnet has purchased for almost R1 billion. These are amazing pieces of equipment. They are state of the art. They can unload that are carrying containers extremely fast. They are also able to operate in high wind speeds, which clearly is very important when you're working in a coastal area that's prone to heavy winds. And of course, what is really important is that these machines are brand new, not going to break down. I think that what we saw particularly during the crisis in 2023, that the over on my left are more than 20 years old. These cranes repeatedly break down. Every breakdown is loss of productive time and means that you are spending too long in the port and trucks are filling up at the gate. So we believe these new cranes are going to dramatically improve the efficiency here at Pier 2. We have set a target of achieving what we call 30 gross crane moves an hour. So what that means in practice is that every 2 minutes this crane has got to be unloading a container. And obviously this particular piece of equipment can move at high speed. I've already explained it can operate in winds. And so it's going to be much easier for us to achieve this international benchmark target of 30 gross crane moves an hour. We installed one of these in Port Elizabeth earlier this year. That piece of equipment sometimes or fairly often does 45 gross crane moves an hour. So you can see that it's going to dramatically improve the efficiency. Of course, what we are doing is we are retraining all of our South African operators to use these new pieces of equipment. Some of these operators are currently in the country being trained. So making sure is that our local operators are being upskilled. Now, people ask the question, how does this help us with job creation? Well, I think what is really important is to realize that the logistics crisis that we faced in 2023 and in the early part of 2024 meant that a lot of exports started to move to other ports in sub-Saharan Africa. So we know, for example, that a lot of our coal exports are now going out through Maputo and not through Richards Bay. What we also know is that across the continent, there's huge building programs taking place, both in terms of rail, but also port upgrade. And I think we don't want to see a situation where South African produce starts to go out through ports in other countries. We also want shipping lines to feel confident that they don't have to queue for 30 days, as was the situation in 2023. Right now, there's no ships queuing. In fact, we are waiting for ships. And so I think when that happens, it means that importers and exporters are confident in being able to use South African ports. In the recent fruit season, this port handled 28% more fruit than last year. And all of that means that you would in time have to expand your productive capacity, but in the meantime you are protecting the jobs that already exist here, because importers are not going to be interested in going to ports in other countries to export their goods. Let me say that yesterday we were opening the first leg of the 80-kilometer upgrade of the N3 between Pietermaritzburg and Durban. And we were opening a 6.8 billion project that has taken 5 years to complete. It runs from Ashburton to Cato Ridge. And I think what's important is to understand the link between the work that Sunrail is doing and the work that Transnet is doing. What we understand is this corridor that runs from Gauteng to Durban carries 60 to 65% of the container freight of this country. Some of this freight is moving on rail, some of it is moving on trucks. The stretch of road that we opened yesterday now has 4 lanes in either direction. It has a 5th lane on the hills. It has overhead lighting so that at night it's just as bright as during the day. And that's obviously very important in terms of safety and efficiency for night travel. There are, Cato Ridge is really going to become a very large inland port, because it's outside of the Rust Belt. What we saw yesterday was cars being unloaded there and being prepped for movement elsewhere in the country. But because of the congestion here at the port, a lot